Let's start with one uncomfortable fact. When a powerful country uses force inside another country, everyone suddenly becomes a lawyer, and a moral philosopher, and a historian, usually for about 48 hours. Today I'll stick to what's confirmed by major reporting and official reactions, and I'll leave you with a few questions that, honestly, don't have comfortable answers. On January 3, 2026, the United States carried out a military operation in Venezuela that resulted in the capture of Nicolás Maduro and his wife Celia Flores, and their removal to the United States. Maduro and Flores then appeared in a U.S. federal court in New York and pleaded not guilty to charges that include narco-terrorism and drug trafficking-related accusations. Inside Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, previously vice president, was sworn in as interim president soon after. There was an emergency meeting at the UN Security Council, and the big headline is this: the US was criticized not only by rivals, but also broadly, with multiple governments calling the operation a violation of sovereignty and international law, while the US framed it as a law enforcement action tied to criminal indictments. The UN Human Rights Office warned that using force against another country's territorial integrity is a core breach of international principle, and said this kind of action can set a dangerous precedent. And from here in Europe, even the political messaging looks split. Some leaders appear torn between welcoming the removal of an authoritarian leader and worrying about what this does to international norms. Because the rules-based international order is everyone's favorite concept until it blocks something they want. Officially, the U.S. justification is rooted in criminal charges, portraying the operation as a targeted action connected to alleged narco-terrorism and trafficking. But there's another element that appeared repeatedly in reporting: oil, including statements and political messaging that the U.S. would oversee or manage aspects of Venezuela's transition and resources. And this is where I pause, not to accuse, but to ask. If it's purely law enforcement, why does it sound like geopolitics? And if it's geopolitics, why call it law enforcement, or regime change with paperwork? Here's what we can say without guessing. Reactions are mixed and fragmented. A lot of Venezuelans abroad celebrated, especially in big diaspora hubs, but even celebratory voices often carried caution about what comes next. Reporting also shows many people inside Venezuela feeling uncertainty and fear, including concerns about instability, reprisals, and who actually controls institutions day to day. And politically, the opposition is not one single voice. Maria Corina Machado, a major opposition figure, publicly praised the U.S. action and pushed for a transition and elections, while power on the ground, at least immediately, shifted to an interim leader from within the existing state structure. So when someone asks, are Venezuelans happy? Which Venezuelans? At home or abroad? Opposition or pro-government? And happy about what? The removal of Maduro, or the method used to remove him? Internationally, the most consistent pattern is many governments condemn the operation, emphasizing sovereignty and UN Charter principles, including in Latin America. For example, regional reactions included strong statements from Brazil's leadership framing the action as crossing an unacceptable line, and there were joint diplomatic messages from countries in Europe and Latin America rejecting unilateral military action. At the same time, some political actors and groups supported the outcome, especially those focused on Maduro's alleged crimes and the desire for regime change. It's amazing how the principle of "don't invade sovereign countries" becomes negotiable, depending on who's being removed. Even inside the U.S., public opinion looks divided. Polling right after the operation showed mixed support, with significant concern about the U.S. getting too involved. So let me ask the quiet part out loud. Are people reacting to the method or to the target? Is this about human rights, or about leverage, security, and resources? If a different big power did the same thing, would the moral framing stay the same? Because historically, liberation is a word that travels well. It fits on a banner, it fits in a speech, and sometimes it fits perfectly over an oil map. What's the real interest? Who benefits? Who pays the price? Right now, the facts point to a volatile transition. Maduro in U.S. custody facing trial, an interim government in Caracas, and intense global disagreement about legitimacy and precedent. The next weeks will answer the only questions that truly matter to ordinary people. Will daily life get safer? Will food, medicine, and wages improve? Will political prisoners be freed? Will there be credible elections? And under whose supervision? I'm not asking you to pick a team. I'm asking you to notice the pattern. The same action can be called justice or aggression, depending on who's holding the microphone. And if the world is truly rules-based, then the rules should survive even when we really dislike the person being removed. If you want, comment with one answer. What's the most likely real interest here? Security, democracy, oil, domestic politics, or something else? And tell me where you're watching from. Latin America, Europe, the US, anywhere.